Okay, hi everybody, we're back. I'm going to be narrating some of this after the fact so that the video doesn't get too long. But you'll notice here I've got the background that we painted last time in part 1. I've got it on a piece of batting just because it helps hold it in place while I'm painting. And I'm going to be painting everything on it, but a lot of it is going to have thread sketching on it afterwards. So if there's not as much detail as you think there should be, it's because I'm saving it for the thread sketching. So here we go. You'll also see that I'm not going to use a lot of white in my painting because that makes it more opaque, and so I like to keep as much of it translucent as I can. And some of it I will be using a Liquitex blending gel just to keep the colors more transparent. First thing I'm going to do is just kind of do an all-over painting in of my my bird. And you can see this is a lot of it is the blending gel that I'm using to kind of keep it soft, because we can always add more color. It's kind of hard to take away color without or lighten the color without adding white. So, and the bird isn't by any means going to be all blue. This is just to kind of get some color on it. Now he's also going to be, he's not going to be a bird like you've ever seen before. He's just going to be kind of a whimsical, colorful, bird in your imagination, which is where I kind of live, in my imagination. Not a bad place. Not a bad place to live. Okay, now I'm going to let that area kind of sit for a minute before I add anything else. And his wings are going to kind of go up here. This is the area in here where I'll be doing a lot of the thread sketching. Also, when you do this transparent background, and a lot of times I will let areas of that background just be part of my subject matter. And that kind of gives it a kind of a fun effect. I'm going to let that go for right now. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow and brown kind of mixed together for the beak right at the moment. Don't want this don't want that beak stand out too much. just to kind of show that it's there. And another thing, when these are wet, because they're transparent, they will bleed into other areas. So always keep that in mind when you're painting with these. Okay, while that's drying, I'm going to paint a little bit of the branch. And this is where I'm going to add just a little bit of white, because I don't want the branch too dark. Again, this is going to be another area where I'm going to add thread painting. So it's going to be, might look a little bit unfinished to you, but that is just so that I can add the thread painting later without it being just a little too much. So this is just going to be kind of an impressionistic branch here, enough that you know what it is. And that may be another little branch coming off of it. I don't know if you could see my drawing. I just did it in pencil lightly, just to give myself an idea of where I wanted things to be. I think that's all I'm going to do on that right at the moment. These little feet are in here too. Not too much detail. I just, like I told you before, I don't always know when to stop on something, so sometimes I go a little bit beyond what I wanted to. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to do with that right at the moment. And I'm going to let, this is still not dry here, so before I do the rest of the bird, I think I'm going to let that set for a little bit, and we'll be back with it. Okay, I'm back. I've added a little bit of some thin lines just to kind of break up and show where the feathers are in green and a little bit darker blue. Now I'm just, and a lot, like I said, a lot of this will be enhanced and some of it covered up once I do the thread sketching. But this kind of gives me an idea of what I'll need and where I'll need it when I go to do the quilting and the thread sketching on it. I wanted to tell you, I did add a little bit of white to this blue, even though I didn't want to, because I decided I just didn't want it quite this dark. So not quite as transparent as I wanted it, but that's okay. What's really interesting about these, especially for someone like me who I don't know when to quit, sometimes what they look like at this stage isn't anything like what they look like when they're finished. And this This is just a little thing of mine. I love showing, if you've seen younger birds, sometimes they are so fluffed up, and I love showing those areas that make them look a little bit younger than an adult. Oops, too much there. I also, you'll notice that I added some yellow to his underbelly. I don't think I'm going to want it quite that yellow. So I think I'll add a little bit of brown with some blending gel and see if I can soften that down so it's not quite such a bright yellow. And I am kind of heat setting this as I go with my my trusty old hair dryer. Makes it a little bit easier to paint. Once I know that this is the color I want to settle with. There. Kind of muted that down a little bit. I think I like it better. I won't do much thread sketching there. Just on the wings and on the tail. And I see one area up here that I don't really like. And yeah, he's just going to be a whimsical bird. I'm not doing this one as a likeness to any kind of bird, but we still want him to be cute. Okay. I think I'm going to let that dry for a moment, and I'll be back. While I'm thinking of it, I want to show you my my heating tool. Everybody has those nice little cone-shaped ones. My grandson had to ask me what this is. He didn't even know that it was a hair dryer, I guess because it looks so different from them, from what they look like now. I've had this for years. I maybe 30, 25, I don't know. It's just always been in my kitchen drawer, and I've used it for just whatever. So I thought I'd show that to you because he thinks this is really funny. Okay, I'm back. I've done a little bit more painting on the tail, and I think right now I don't like these leaves. I'm going to make them just a tad bit larger. So I'm mixing up some of the brown and the green because the green is such a bright color that I think it needs to be toned down a little bit. And I'm mixing a little bit of blending gel in with it. And we'll see how this works. Make these just a little bit larger than I first made them. It was my intent at first that this was just going to be kind of in the spring painting where the leaves were just beginning to come out on the trees. I don't want to get it so busy that when I go to free motion quilt it and then maybe add a little bit of mixed media, which is what I'd rather do. So I think I'm going to try and keep the actual painting pretty simple on it. Maybe I'll add, I think I'll add one more leaf over here. Maybe put a little bit of yellow in that just to get a little bit of interest and a little bit more color. And then when this is dry, I can always add a little bit more, but I think I like this better than when they were a little bit smaller. Okay, so I think right now, just for the purposes of this little quilt, I'm going to dry it and iron it. The ironing will set the paint that I've already got on here. And then I think I'll start doing a little bit of free motion quilting. I need to make the binding and the backing, which I'll show you in just a minute. And then I'll free motion quilt it. And then maybe in the next part, part 3 of these videos, I'll add some mixed media, a little bit of maybe some inks, maybe a little bit of stamping, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, I think, excuse me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my thread sketching now, and that'll probably finish up the video, and then I'll do the free motion quilting and the mixed media after that in the next video. These are the colors I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using both of these on the wings of the bird and maybe a little bit on the tail. And then I think I'm going to use these two. This is sort of a gold color, and this is a really soft yellow. I'm going to use that on the underbody of the bird. So let me get my machine threaded here and we'll start. Okay, I've got the free motion foot. I think my machine actually refers to this as a darning foot. I have my feed dogs up. It's just the way I learned to free motion quilt, and so it's just how I do it. Most people put their feed dogs down when they free motion quilt. What I'm going to be doing is just some sketching in here, first with the dark green. I'm also going to put some of it on his tail. So, and I start it like I would any free motion quilting by bringing the bobbin thread up, so you don't get those knots in the back. And I only have 2 layers on this right now. I don't put the backing on until after I'm done with the thread sketching and before I'm ready to do the free motion quilting. So here we go. This just adds a little dimension and a little interest to your painting. And you can put as little or as much on it as you want. I don't want to get too carried away because I'm going to use another color on this wing. So And if you haven't done free motion quilting, there are a ton of really good videos on YouTube. Craftsy has some wonderful classes on free motion quilting. It's one of my favorite parts of the quilting process. Okay. I think I'm going to be done with green. I'll show this to you better when we're completely done, but you can see all of the stitching in here. I'm going to switch out to the blue, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got the kind of a turquoise thread on here now. I've got my bobbin thread pulled up, and if I didn't mention it before, I had white in the bobbin, and I just left it in there because it's not going to show on the back of this batting. So we'll do the same thing as I did with the green, only with these, and I think this is such a pretty color, and contrasted with the dark green. Cut my sorry, forgot to do this. Okay. And you'll know when enough is enough. You can do this as heavy as you want. I just want it for accent, so I'm trying not to do it too heavy. What I'm going to do here for purpose of time is I'm not going to cut that, I'm just going to jump and then over and start on the tail. I think I forgot to do the tail in the dark green, so I'll have to go back and do that. And then when I'm done here with the stitching, I'll just cut that little jump piece there. I'm going to stop there and see this little piece where I jumped from the wing to the tail. I'll just cut that off. Now I'm going to go back and do the dark green on the tail. I won't make you watch me do that, and I'll be back then when I'm done with that. Okay, I'm back. I've got that gold threaded on. This, I'm going to just kind of go down around the bottom here of his belly, and maybe do some kind of little choppy stitches just to make it look a little bit fluffier and give it a little bit of dimension and texture. Cut these threads before I get them hooked in here. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, that'll just give it a little bit of shading down there. And now I'll do the yellow, and we'll be done with the bird. Okay, I'm back with the yellow. This is a real soft yellow, and I'm just going to kind of use it in the rest of the area where I didn't go with that gold color. Just to give it some texture. Cut my threads. I think this is going to add so much. It's amazing what a little bit of this thread sketching does just to embellish, especially your focal point. I'm done with that. Okay, while we were off camera, I went through and did a little bit of free motion or thread sketching on that branch, and I'm not sure how well you can see it. I didn't do too much. I just thought since I had it on the bird, I better add a little bit to the branch. So I think I'm done with all of the thread sketching. So I think I'll wait until part 3. In part 3 we'll come back, we'll add the backing, and we'll do the free motion quilting, and hopefully get to some mixed media on top of that. So hope you enjoyed this, and stop back for part 3. Thanks.